The invitation to Anderson Manufacturing's 50th anniversary gala sat on my desk, its silver embossing catching the morning light in my penthouse office. 5 years had passed since that fateful family dinner when my father had announced his succession plan. Everything to my brother David, nothing for me. Ms. Anderson. My assistant Michael appeared at the door. The latest reports on Anderson Manufacturing just came in. Their financial situation is, well, you should see for yourself. I took the tablet he offered, scanning the numbers with a satisfied smile. The company my grandfather had built, the one my father had given entirely to my more capable brother, was now drowning in debt. How much do they need? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Minimum of $50 million to avoid bankruptcy. They've approached every major bank in the city, but given their current management, Michael trailed off diplomatically. I nodded, turning to look out at the Manhattan skyline. From my office in the Morrison building, which I owned, I could actually see Anderson Manufacturing's headquarters, a once proud structure now shadowed by newer, more successful buildings. 5 years ago, I sat at our family's dining table, listening to my father explain why David deserved everything. The company needs strong leadership, he'd said, not meeting my eyes. Traditional leadership. David understands this business. You're too focused on all these modern ideas about technology and innovation. I'd spent years preparing for this moment, earning my MBA while David barely passed college. I'd worked every summer learning the business from the ground up while he played golf with Dad's friends. I developed a complete modernization plan that could have transformed Anderson Manufacturing into a technology leader. But I was the daughter, and in my father's world, that made me less qualified than my brother, who'd never shown any real interest in the company beyond its profits. You'll get a generous salary, of course, my father had added, as if that made it better. Vice President of Creative Services, a perfect position for someone with your unique perspectives. I declined the consolation prize. That night, I walked away from Anderson Manufacturing, from my family's expectations, from everything they thought they knew about me. What they didn't know was that I'd seen this coming. For 2 years prior, I'd been quietly building my own company, Phoenix Technologies. While they dismissed my modern ideas, I was revolutionizing the very industry they thought they understood. Michael, I turned back to my assistant. What's our current market position compared to Anderson Manufacturing? He pulled up another report. Phoenix Technologies' market cap is currently $4.2 billion. Anderson's is $180 million and falling. I smiled, remembering David's condescending pat on my shoulder the night of the announcement. Don't worry, sis. You can still have an office down the hall from mine. Now his office was worth less than my company spent on coffee each year. The real irony? My father and brother had no idea I was behind Phoenix Technologies. To the business world, Phoenix was run by the mysterious E.A. Stone, who never appeared in public. To my family, I was just Emma Anderson, founder of a small tech consulting firm that somehow managed to stay afloat. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Darling, you are coming to the gala, aren't you? David has some very important investors attending. Try to look professional. I glanced at the St. Laurent suit I was wearing, worth more than David's car. Don't worry, Mom, I wouldn't miss it. The story of how I built Phoenix Technologies while maintaining my facade of modest success is one of careful planning and quiet satisfaction. After walking away from Anderson Manufacturing, I used my savings and a small inheritance from my grandmother to launch my first product, a revolutionary inventory management system that quickly caught the attention of major retailers. Within 18 months, Phoenix had secured contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. By year 3, we were leading the industry in innovation. All while Anderson Manufacturing clung to outdated methods and watched their market share steadily decline. I kept my name off all company documents, operating through a series of holding companies. In family gatherings, I talked about my small consulting business, letting them believe I was barely getting by. Meanwhile, Phoenix Technologies was transforming the industry my father thought I couldn't understand. Ms. Anderson. Michael interrupted my thoughts. The acquisition team just sent over the final analysis. Anderson Manufacturing's patents alone are worth more than their current market value. If we move now, we could buy them for pennies on the dollar, I finished. Have the team prepare the documents, but keep everything under Phoenix Holdings. I don't want anyone making the connection yet. I picked up the gala invitation again, running my fingers over the embossed Anderson Manufacturing logo. In 2 days, my family would be celebrating 50 years of business success, unaware that their company's survival depended on the daughter they dismissed. The path that led here wasn't about revenge. It was about proving something to myself. While my father and brother focused on maintaining what my grandfather had built, I'd look to the future. While they clung to tradition, I embraced innovation. While they assumed leadership was about authority, I proved it was about vision. My phone buzzed again. This time a message from David. "Hey sis, heard your little consulting business landed a decent client. Maybe now you can afford a new car." I looked out my window at my private helipad, thinking of the fleet of vehicles in my underground garage. "Thanks for the concern, big brother. I'm managing." That night, as I reviewed the acquisition documents in my penthouse, I thought about the moment that truly set all this in motion. It wasn't the dinner where my father gave everything to David. It was 2 weeks before that, when I presented my modernization plan to the board. I'd spent months preparing it, comprehensive analysis of market trends, detailed implementation strategies, projected ROI that would have doubled the company's value within 5 years. David had smirked through the entire presentation. "This isn't a college project, Emma," he'd said afterward. "This is real business. Leave the big decisions to those who understand them." Now, 5 years later, every prediction in that presentation had come true. Anderson Manufacturing had lost ground to more innovative competitors, most notably to Phoenix Technologies. Their refusal to adapt had brought them to the brink of bankruptcy, and their salvation or destruction rested in the hands of the daughter they deemed unworthy of the family legacy. I picked up a framed photo from my desk, the last picture taken of my grandfather before he passed. He was standing in front of the original Anderson Manufacturing building, pride shining in his eyes. He'd built something extraordinary from nothing, through innovation and forward thinking. "You would have understood," I whispered to his image. "You would have seen what they couldn't." My grandfather had wanted to give me the company. I found his original will after he died, but by then my father had already convinced him to change it. "The company needs a man's touch," he told my dying grandfather. "Emma's too soft, too full of impractical ideas." Those impractical ideas had built Phoenix Technologies into something far greater than Anderson Manufacturing had ever been. And in 2 days, at the anniversary gala, everything would change. My phone buzzed one last time, an email from our acquisition team, final details confirmed. Anderson Manufacturing's loans will be called in next week. They'll have 48 hours to find financing or face immediate bankruptcy. I closed my laptop, walking to the window that overlooked the city. Somewhere out there, my father and brother were probably planning their grand anniversary celebration, unaware that their company's fate rested in the hands of the daughter they'd written off. Sometimes success isn't about getting what you want. Sometimes it's about building something better than what you were denied. The plaza's grand ballroom sparkled with false prosperity as Anderson Manufacturing's 50th anniversary celebration began. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over hundreds of guests, most of them unaware that the company they were celebrating would be facing bankruptcy in less than a week. I watched my brother David work the room, his smile growing more strained with each conversation. He'd spent a fortune on this party, money the company couldn't afford, hoping to convince potential investors that Anderson Manufacturing was still a force to be reckoned with. "Emma, darling," my mother's voice carried across the room. "Come meet the Hamiltons. Their investment firm might be interested in helping the company." I smiled, knowing that the Hamiltons firm was actually a subsidiary of Phoenix Technologies. They were here on my orders, playing their part in tonight's carefully orchestrated revelation. "Mrs. Hamilton," I shook her hand, maintaining my role as the struggling consultant. "I hear you're interested in manufacturing technologies." "Very interested," she replied, hiding a knowing smile. "Though we'll need to speak with EA Stone before making any decisions. I believe they're attending tonight." David, who had joined our group, practically bounced with excitement. "EA Stone is coming? The founder of Phoenix Technologies?" "Oh yes," Mrs. Hamilton nodded. "In fact, I believe they're already here." I checked my watch. Almost time. My team was in position. The documents were prepared. And in exactly 3 minutes, Anderson Manufacturing's largest creditor would be calling in their loans. Right on cue, David's phone rang. I watched the color drain from his face as he listened to the caller. "That's impossible," he stammered. The loan isn't due for. Yes, I understand, but no, please, we just need more time. He ended the call, looking shell-shocked. Our father hurried over, sensing disaster. What's wrong? He demanded. Sterling Bank is calling in our loans. David's voice shook. All of them. We have 48 hours to pay $50 million or they'll force us into bankruptcy. The news spread through the room like wildfire. Board members huddled in corners, whispered conversations grew urgent, and my father aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Maybe Phoenix Technologies will be interested in acquiring us, one board member suggested desperately. They've been expanding their manufacturing division. If only we could speak with E.A. Stone, David said, loosening his tie. I heard they're here tonight. They are, I said calmly, setting down my champagne glass. In fact, you've been speaking with them all evening. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to me. What are you talking about? My father demanded. I nodded to Michael, who began distributing folders to the board members. My name is Emma Anderson Stone. I'm the founder and CEO of Phoenix Technologies, and I now control the majority of Anderson Manufacturing's debt. The silence turned deafening. David's mouth opened and closed wordlessly. My father gripped the back of a chair for support. That's impossible, he finally managed. You run a small consulting firm. No, I corrected him. I built a $4.2 billion technology company while letting you believe I was struggling. Because you and David needed to learn some hard truths about success, innovation, and judging people's capabilities. All this time, David whispered, Phoenix Technologies' market dominance, the patents, the innovations, that was all you? Remember my impractical modernization plan? I asked. The one you dismissed 5 years ago. I implemented every part of it at Phoenix. While you were clinging to outdated methods, I was building the future. My father found his voice, anger overtaking shock. So this is revenge? Destroying your family's company? Actually, I opened one of the folders. This is salvation. Phoenix Technologies is offering to acquire Anderson Manufacturing at a very generous premium, considering its current situation. We'll modernize the facilities, retrain the workers, and implement the changes that should have been made years ago. And us? David asked quietly. You'll be offered positions commensurate with your actual abilities, not your family connections. Whether you succeed or fail will depend entirely on your own merit. The next hour was a blur of lawyers, documents, and wounded pride. My father signed the acquisition papers without meeting my eyes. David sat in stunned silence, his dreams of corporate glory crumbling around him. Later that night, as shell-shocked guests filed out, my father approached me. Why? He asked simply. Why let us think you were failing all these years? I considered the question carefully. Because you and David needed to understand that success isn't about titles or traditions. It's about vision, innovation, and recognizing potential, even when it doesn't look the way you expect it to. He nodded slowly, looking older than I'd ever seen him. And now? What happens to the company? Now it becomes what it always could have been. Something innovative, forward-thinking, built on merit rather than inheritance. I touched his arm gently. Grandfather built something remarkable. You and David nearly destroyed it trying to preserve the past. I'm going to save it by embracing the future. Over the next few months, Anderson Manufacturing transformed. David started in product development, finally applying himself when he realized his position wasn't guaranteed. My father retired but stayed on as an advisor, slowly learning to see beyond his old prejudices. The original Anderson Manufacturing building still stands, but now it's part of a modern technology campus. In the lobby, beside my grandfather's portrait, hangs a framed copy of my original modernization plan. A reminder that sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to reinvent it. Last week, during a board meeting, a young engineer presented an innovative proposal. Some of the old guards started to dismiss her ideas, but I stopped them. 5 years ago, I said, I presented a similar proposal and was told to leave the big decisions to those who understand them. Now Phoenix Technologies leads the industry, while those who dismissed innovation nearly lost everything. Let's not make the same mistake twice. The proposal was approved unanimously. Success, I've learned, isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right, even if that means letting people underestimate you until the perfect moment to show them exactly what you're capable of. My father still struggles with the new reality sometimes. Last month, he questioned one of my strategic decisions during a board meeting. "Trust me, Dad," I said quietly. "I built something bigger than Anderson Manufacturing while you thought I was failing. Imagine what I can do now that I don't have to hide." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded, finally seeing me not as his daughter who needed protection, but as the leader who had saved his company's legacy. The original Anderson Manufacturing sign still hangs on the building, but now it's paired with the Phoenix Technologies logo. A reminder that sometimes the greatest tribute to a family legacy isn't preserving it exactly as it was, but transforming it into something even more extraordinary than anyone could have imagined.